Hey guys, it's your boy Dana T. Jones. Today we're going to go over creative financing. When I say creative finance, I'm going to go over some key strategies such as seller financing, which we call subject to, a novation agreement, or wrap loan. So you guys stay tuned for the end of the episode and you'll check it out. Okay, guys. So when I say creative financing, it actually takes me back to a story. When I was buying like a lot of property. So I mean, I'd still use creative financing till today because creative financing is a way to help you from kind of like depleting your funds when you're trying to do like a lot of renovation deals. So what can happen is, instead of you putting down anywhere from 15 to 20% to secure investment property, you can actually do what we call seller financing. And in this particular seller financing situation, it was a win-win because, I was kind of depleting my funds a lot, putting down 20% for every deal. And then, it helped me at this point in time because I didn't have to worry about coming out of my funds for a down payment. And actually, the seller in this particular situation, she was going through like some rough times. She was going through like a foreclosure. So this was like one of my dear friends, pretty much, and we're sitting there over lunch, and she's confiding in me and talking about you know her hardships, and it was kind of like a tough thing to go over at that time. But she was telling me that she was about to get laid off from a job that she's been at for like 10 years, and her credit is like a 760, and she was wondering like, man, my credit's at 760, and I've been missing like a couple of payments, and I don't want to get my house foreclosed on. So I'm like, well, hold up, you don't have to get your house foreclosed on. I can actually help you out. And in this particular property, she actually had like a lot of equity in it. So I believe the home was worth like 400,000, and then she had like within equity, she only owed like 250, so she had like $150,000 worth of equity. So with this particular deal, I was able to give her like $30,000 up front, so therefore she can like stop the foreclosure, don't go through the foreclosure process, and then be able to solidify a rental property to go rent somewhere, so she can actually get a fresh start over until she can find like another job. So that's what kind of like helped out in that creative financing realm. That's what we call subject to, and that's what we call like seller financing. In that particular situation, I was able to take over her loan and stop the foreclosure process. And that's what I've been teaching a lot of my mentees to do right now, because that's how we've been actually helping a lot of people out, especially right now in this inflationary times, in this inflationary market. Right now, they said that we're going through a recession. We just came out of a hot tamale sellers market. So, the sellers, they were getting everywhere from like 30,000 to maybe 50,000 over the asking price, and the market was super duper on fire. The interest rates were at like an all-time low. The rates were at like 2%, and right now it's like the rates have been rising. So instead of the rates being 2%, the interest rates have shot up to like anywhere from like 5 to 6%, which means it's kind of not a seller's market anymore. So instead of you having like 5 and 10 people who want to get your one particular property, now your property is actually sitting on the market like it's sitting on the market a little longer. So that's why I've been telling, my mentees, and I have my VAs calling, that right now is actually a great time for creative financing because, the market's not on fire anymore. So, we have some sellers, their home has been sitting on the market for like, it typically was there for like 2 days, and now it's there for like 30 days. And, they want like $250,000 for that property. They're not getting those offers anymore. So what I can do as far as, one of my sub two or seller financing strategies, instead of you taking like a price dip on it and saying, hey, I'm not going to give you a lowball offer. I will give you that 250,000 that you do want for your property, but will you be willing to take terms for that? And then they look at me, they say, terms, what's that? I haven't heard of that. So then I go in and I explain to them that terms is what we call seller financing. So what I can do is I can give you your 250,000 that you want for the property, but you would have to give it to me at a 0% interest rate. So then I can actually in turn take over your payments for that property, and then you would get everything that you want. And then, I don't have to put the 20% down. So I was like, it's a win-win situation for everyone. And then, with this seller financing, you don't have to only do it if somebody has a mortgage on a property. You can actually do it if a home is like free and clear. It's like it's a whole lane because in this real estate industry, seller financing is a good way to kind of like solidify the property, and you can either resell the property or you can wholesale it. But getting back to the situation about a property being free and clear, I actually bought a 4 unit like that. It was from an elderly couple. So they had a lot of real estate. They live in Baltimore now, but they wanted to retire and move to Florida. So the rents that they were getting for like each unit was like $800. So they were getting like $3,200 for the, you know, for the fourplex. So I said, hey, what if I can actually, because I see that this property is free and clear. What if I can actually guarantee you $1,000 a month each property? Would you be willing to take terms? And they said, okay, yeah, we will, because we see that the market is about to decline. So what I did was, I solidified that property subject to, which is like seller financing, and I guarantee them $1,000 a month per property. But what I'm doing is I'm doing like an Airbnb. So off of each one, my cash flow is like $500. So I'm getting like 1,500 for each unit. So I'm making like an extra $2,000 a month for that particular property, and I didn't have to put out anywhere from like 15 to 20% to solidify that property. So that's like a whole great thing right there. So that's what I'm actually teaching my mentees on the tips and tricks and in many ways to do like seller finance, and especially like right now in this hot market, because we know just now, another way is novation agreement. So in a novation agreement, you can actually get a property from a homeowner. So instead of you buying a property from them and offering anywhere from, like, say for instance, okay, another scenario with a novation agreement, the seller, he wanted like $50,000 for the property. The property, it was in major disarray. It needed a lot of work. So I was saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to give you the 50,000 for the property right now, but how about you take terms and we do the novation agreement, and I can actually renovate the property. So I can actually renovate the property, and then once it's fixed up, I can sell it. And then instead of giving you the 50,000 up front, I can give you 55,000 on the back end. So for that particular property, I think I put like $120,000 into the property. Once the property was sold, I then gave him his 55,000, so that's like 175, and I sold the property for like 350. And that's like another strategic way to buy the properties, and then not have to rely on doing like 2 or 3 flips at one time. With a novation agreement, you can do like anywhere from like 5 to 6 flips at a time, because you don't have to solidify and use your funds to buy the property. So a lot of people say, "Hey, Dana, how do I find these creative financing deals? How do I find these sub two deals?" So what we do is, we get like a lot of VAs, and we get a list. So we get what we call a foreclosure list, we get a pre-foreclosure list, and we get a probate list. So we would have our VAs calling out like every day, because we can actually kind of see like when a property is going through foreclosure. We can see if the property has like some sort of a tax bill, like a water lien, a tax lien, a mechanics lien, anything like that. So what we do is we call these particular homeowners, or sometimes it can be an investor. So we give them a call because we already know, how far in debt they are on the property. So we just, explain like, instead of you losing this property for foreclosure, we can actually write up something through terms, and we can actually take over your payment. If a person is like in negative equity, then we can actually, we'll just take over the payment, and then we would like kind of like wait for the appreciation of the property, but we would utilize that property for cash flow. So when I say cash flow, they may have an old or existing mortgage when the rates were at 2%. So, their mortgage may be like $1,500 a month. So if their mortgage is $1,500 a month, then we would just cash flow it, fix it up a little bit, and then rent it out for like 1,800. So then that would be like another one that's added to the portfolio. So then you figure You do that one time, you do it two times, and you can actually you can scale it up from there. So that is one way how we deal with the VAs. And then another way, if a property has positive equity on it. So you have positive equity in it, then it's almost like it brings me back to another scenario that a person she did have positive equity in the property. So I was able to give her like $20,000 down to walk away from the property. And then once we renovated the property, we sold it and made like 100,000 off of it. So that's why I say seller financing is just so many different ways. You can go from, from taking over existing mortgage. You can go from getting a property free and clear. You can actually fix up, you can still do seller financing. You can actually fix up a dilapidated property and actually like resell it and things of that nature. So, this is one of the key strategies that we've been doing right now, especially in this inflationary era, especially when we're going through a recession. And then that's how I've been like training my students and showing them how we can have like a lot of VAs calling in us, finding us these deals. And it's a very profitable thing. And it's something that's like right under everybody's nose because, everybody has been used to just buying real estate the old way. Let me go find a property and get a hard money loan on it, put my 20% down and sell a property. And then, I might be in a plus or I might be under. But with seller financing, it actually gives you a way to know if you get the property with equity in it, you can either keep the property for cash flow, you can actually wholesale a property to another wholesaler. So when I say wholesaling a property, because we do have like a lot of investors out there who want to get into the game, you can actually take a seller financing. Like we did another one that we took over the note, whereas though the house was worth like 350,000. They had like $100,000 worth of equity in it. So I put them under a seller financing agreement, whereas though I would take over the payments. After making two payments, I then sold the house to a wholesaler. I made like a quick $20,000. And then wholesaler, he just went on and took on and did the renovation and did the fix and flipping of the property. So it's all about where you get in at on a property, you know what your options are. And it's like the more options you have in real estate, the better off you'll be. So you got to always go in there with like some sort of a strategy to know and say, okay, this one has negative equity in it. So I can keep it for the long haul and I can see if I can get the cash flow off of it. This one has positive equity. I can actually renovate this one and put it on a retail market and sell it off, or I can actually wholesale it. It's just so many different ways. So, and that's how creative financing is. So, like I said, you get it seller finance, whereas though it's free and clear. You can get it seller finance if they have a mortgage or they have a note on it, or you can do the novation agreement, whereas though it's a win-win situation. You can actually fix the property up and then you would you would pay the seller off after it's fixed up and after it's renovated, and then you can and then you can cash in your chips. So that's pretty great. So you have any other questions or concerns, you can actually reach me or feel free to reach me at Instagram at dana.t.jones, or you can actually visit my website. That's danatjones.com. Right there, that's where we have more tips and tricks so we can show you the creative financing strategies.